Welcome, students. In today's video, we will be looking at the Mathematics Performance Task Paper, June 2023. You will be given 1 hour and 40 minutes to complete your exam. Let's look at the instructions. So the task has 4 parts. You're going to read the information in each part carefully, and then you're going to use the information provided to answer each question in part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. Okay, let me make sure everything is on the screen. All right, so bake sale. Your class is planning a bake sale to raise $16,000 to buy a microwave for the classroom. Parents have been asked to donate baked products for the sale. Your teacher has asked you to lead the student planning committee. You and your team will collect and organize the baked products donated, present and interpret the information about the baked products, determine how much money the class makes from the bake sale, determine if the class meets its goal of raising $16,000 at the end of the bake sale. So part 1. Okay, so for part 1, number of baked products donated. So you're going to complete the tally chart below. The first one is done for you. So they have done the cupcakes, okay? So as the key suggests at the bottom here, okay, this represents 5, okay, the number 5. So we have cupcakes already done. Let's look at what they did. Just to, as I said, this is the example. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and then 3 singles, that's 48. That's how they got 48. All right, so donuts again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and one more, that's 36. Okay, cookies. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So 60 cookies. And then cakes, 5, 10, plus 2 more, that's 12. So that's all you would have to do, guys, to get your marks for this question. We are now on to part 2. Part 1 is finished. And in the interest of time, I have already gone ahead to complete this bar graph, but let's look at what it said we were supposed to do. It says, let's take a closer look. Use the information in the tally chart in part 1 to complete the bar graph below. The bar for cupcakes has already been done. So they had already completed this chart, right? This was the example. And I went ahead to fill in the information for donuts, cookies, and cakes. All right, so let's look quickly back at the tally chart to see what the numbers were to be able to complete our bar graph. So let's look at the donuts, okay? So it's the information from the tally chart, okay? So we're gonna we're gonna now put in 36 for donuts, 60 cookies, and 12 cakes. So as I said, I went ahead and did this in the interest of time. I'm going to try to zoom it just a bit so you can see where the numbers fall. So for donuts, it was 36. So the 35 mark was about here. And then one more would make it 36, okay? So that's where I stopped. All right, so for cookies was 60. So again, it went all the way up to the 60 mark. Okay, students? And then for cakes, there were 12 cakes based on the information in the tally chart. And so this is the 10 mark. And then 2 more would bring you to 12. So be careful with where you would put your draw your lines. Okay, make sure it matches the information in the tally chart. Okay, it cannot be more or less. All right, so let's get on to 2B. It says which baked product was the least popular donation? Okay, so which one did they get less of? Let's look at and you could have looked at the tally chart or this bar graph, but since this is on the page with the bar graph, we're going to be looking at the bar graph information to tell us. Okay, so I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller so we can see everything on the screen at the same time. All right, so which baked product was the least popular? So we know that cupcakes was 48, donuts was 36, cookies 60, cakes 12. So which baked product was the least popular? The answer would be cakes. I'm trying to write with my finger. All right, so you would write in the word cakes. Okay, my A doesn't look so wonderful, but that's an A. Okay, cakes. All right, then 2C says, which baked product donation was 1 dozen less than the number of cupcakes donated? 1 dozen less than the number of cupcakes. So we would need to know how many cupcakes were donated. Then we would have to find out which baked product was 1 dozen less. So we have to know what 1 dozen is, and that of course is 12. So the number of cupcakes donated, let's look back at cupcakes, it was 48. So we need to find out what is 1 dozen less 48, right? What's 1 dozen less than 48? So 48, okay, minus 12, because 1 dozen, that's 12. All right, 8 take away 2, that's 6. 4 take away 1, that's 3. So 1 dozen less, or 12 less than 48, would be 36. Can we find which baked product equals 36? All right, so the answer would be donuts. So the baked product donation that was 1 dozen less than the number of cupcakes donated was donuts. Okay, so I'm going to, don't know if I have, let me use the typing thing instead so I can type it in, and I'm going to type in the word donuts. Okay, all right, so the answer was donuts. All right, let me just change this one as well. Let me erase this that I did, and I'll just type it in instead. So it looks a whole lot better than what I wrote in. All right, guys, so remember, when it says 1 dozen less, you have to know what a dozen, how much is a dozen? That's 12. And so it would have been cakes. Okay, so let me type that in. Okay, all right, so there we go. Cakes and donuts. All right, so let's get to the next question. Part 3. And of course, it's very important that you guys know how to read these questions and interpret them correctly so that you can answer correctly. Now, part 3, money earned from the bake sale. The price list used in the bake sale is shown below. You're going to examine the list carefully, then use it to answer questions 3A, 3B, and 3C. Okay, so here's the price list. Cookies, $20 each. Donuts, $40 each. Cupcakes, $50 each. And cake, $80 per slice. So at the end of the bake sale, all of the donuts that were donated were sold. how much money did your class make from the sale of the donuts? Okay, so at the end of the bake sale, all the donuts that were donated were sold. All right, so we have to know how many donuts were donated and then the cost, right? How much we sold each donut for to find out what was the total money that was made from the sale of donuts. All right, so let's go back to see how many donuts. I have the amount, but I want you to remember you'd have to go back. We can use the bar graph to see donuts 36, okay? Or we can go back to the tally chart, donuts 36. So we're going to be using that amount, 36. And we're going to be multiplying that by 40 since the donuts were sold for $40 each and all the donuts were sold. Okay, so we can use that information now to put in and show our working below. Okay, so we're going to be multiplying 36 donuts. And remember we said they were sold for $40 each, so we're going to be multiplying 36 by 40. Okay. So I'm going to go through step by step with this, guys, for those who don't know how to multiply with multiple digits. Okay. So 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Okay, let me do that a little bit better. As I tell you guys, I'm doing this with my finger. All right. So next we're going to be multiplying by 4, but of course we have to first put our placeholder and then we multiply. Okay, so 4 times 6 is 24. The 4 goes here. Why is that dot right there? I didn't put a dot right here. Okay, so 4 times 0 is 24. Okay, so the 4 goes at the bottom and we bring the 2 over in the next column. All right, so 4 times 3, that's 12. 12 plus 2, that's 14. So once we have done the multiplication, we then add the 2 rows of numbers. Okay, 0 plus 0, that's 0. 0 plus 4, that's 4. 4 and 1. Okay, so how much money did your class make from the sale of donuts? The answer is $1,440. Okay, and you could put a sentence at the end to say $1,440 was made from the sale of donuts. Okay, but once you show your work in there, you will be able to see what you did. Question 3B. At the end of the bake sale, only 3/4 of the cookies that were donated were sold. How much money did your class make from the sale of the cookies? All right, so some important information here, okay? Only 3/4 of the cookies that were donated were sold. So not all the cookies were sold. So we're going to have to find out what is 3/4 of those, that total, to see how much was sold. And then we will multiply that, right, by the cost of each cookie. So let's go to see how much cookies were donated, because we're going to need that information to find 3/4 of, and then we also need to know what's the cost for each cookie to use that in our calculation. So how many cookies and the cost for each cookie, okay? So using the bar graph for cookies, it was 60. We could look at the tally chart as well. That might be easier to read. 60. So 60 cookies were donated. And what's the cost for cookies? Let's go back to see $20 each. So cookies are $20 each. And there was a total of 60 cookies donated. But remember, it's only 3/4 of that 60 that were sold. Okay. So how do we find 3/4 of 60? This is one of the simpler ways to do it. 3/4 up. So 3/4 of 60. This is one way of doing the calculations. Okay. So we could divide into 6 to cancel this number at the bottom. So 4 into 4, that's 1. Okay, so we're dividing both numbers by a factor, a common factor. So 4 divided by 4, that's 1. 4 into 60, that's 15. Okay, if we divide 60 by 4, we get 15. So now we multiply. 3 times 15 equals 45. So we know that 45 cookies were sold, okay? So 45 cookies were sold. Now we know that they were sold at $20 each, okay? So 45 cookies sold at $20 each. So 45 times 20. Okay, so we're going to multiply again, multiplying by double digits. 0 times 5, that's 0. 0 times 4, that's 0. Then we put our placeholder. 2 times 5, that's 10. The 1 goes at the top. Then 2 times 4, that's 8. 8 plus 1, that's 9. Now we add both rows, and we end up with 900. So $900 was from the sale of cookies, okay? So let's recap. Let's go back. So 3/4 of the cookies, we established that 3/4 of the cookies were sold 45. Let's go back. And cookies were sold at $20 each. So 60 cookies at $20 each, but remember it was a 60 cookies that were sold, 3/4 of 60, and then we multiplied that by 20, and so we ended up with $900, okay? All right, so 3C says each cake was divided into 10 equal parts, okay? At the end of the bake sale, all the cakes that were donated were sold. How much money did your class make from the sale of cakes? So we're going to have to find out how many cakes were donated. All the cakes were sold, but each cake was divided into 10 equal slices. So how many different slices did we have? And how much money did we make? So how much was the cost of each slice of cake? All right, so how many cakes? We can go to the bar graph for that. All right, there were 12 cakes. Okay, let's go to the tally chart just to be sure. 12 cakes, and each cake is going to be cut up into 10 slices, and each slice is going to be sold for $80. Okay, so let's do our calculation. So first we have 12 cakes, and we multiply that by 10, since each of those 12 cakes will be cut into 10 slices. There's a shorter way to do this. Okay, we could simply add 0. When we're multiplying with multiples of 10, we just simply add 0. But let's do it the long way. All right, so 0 times 2, that's 0. 0 times 1, that's 0. Then we put our placeholder. 1 times 2, that's 2. 1 times 1, that's 1. So that's 120, okay? So 120 slices of cake. Now that we have our number of slices, remember we sold the cakes for $80 per slice. So we're going to be multiplying 120 slices times 80, since it's $80 per slice, okay? Again, 0 times 0, that's 0. 0 times 2, that's 0. 0 times 1, that's, let me take this off. Okay. 0 times 0, 0 times 1, that's 0. All right, then put our placeholder. Then 0 times 0, 8 times 0, that's 8 times 0, that's 0. 8 times 2, that's 16. The 6 here, 1 over here. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 more, that's 9. Okay, now we add the 2 rows. 0, 0, 6, and 9. So we made a total of $9,600 from the sale of cakes, okay? All right, so let's get to the next question. Part 4. All right, meeting your goal. At the final meeting of the student planning committee, the treasurer made a report. He reported that in addition to the sale of the cakes, donuts, and cookies, the class also made $2,400 from the sale of all the cupcakes. After completing all his calculations, the treasurer also reported that the class did not meet its goal of raising $16,000. Okay, so the class did not meet its goal of raising $16,000. Help the treasurer to show that the class did not meet its goal of raising $16,000. So how are we going to help show that the class did not meet its goal? We are going to be adding up all the totals, right, from all the different baked products, and then we'll see how much we made all together, okay, to see if it gave us 16 or not. All right, so let's do that. So what we would need to do is to go back to the calculations we performed, right? So we had donut sales, $1,440. All right, you'll need that information. The $900 from the cookies, the $9,600 from the cakes, and remember they said $2,400 from the sale of the cupcakes. So we need to add those 4 amounts, okay, to show. All right, so 1,440, okay, and it would be best if you perhaps labeled them. All right, we can go back to do the labeling after. All right, then we had 900, and then we had 9,600, and also 2,400, okay? So which one was 2,400? Which one was 9,600? I remember the cakes was 9,600. Let's see what the others were, because we want to just make sure that we have the label so we know exactly what we're seeing. All right, so cupcakes was 2,400. That information was right here. So this was the cupcakes, okay? All right, so what was $900 and what was 1,440? All right, so $900 were the cookies and 1,000 was donuts, okay? So donuts 140 and then cookies. So donuts and cookies. Yeah, you want to make sure that everything is listed and highlighted so they can see. So now we're going to go ahead and add. So zeros, that's 0, 4. Okay, take your time and do this. 6 plus 4, that's 10. Okay, 10 plus 9, that's 19. 19 plus 4, that's 23. So the 3 goes here and the 2 goes over here. Okay, so 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 plus 2, that's 12. 12 plus 2, that's 14. Okay, so we made, or this class made, $14,340. So of course, like the treasurer said, they did not meet their goal of $16,000. All right, 4B says a committee member suggested that the team ask for at least 3 more cake donations in order to meet its goal. Each cake will be cut into 10 equal slices and sold at the same price. Do you agree with the committee member? Explain why you agree or why you disagree. Be sure to use calculations to support your answer. So one of the things we would want to know is by how much was the amount not met, right? So how much more do we need? So it's 14,000 to 340, but we needed 16,000. So we need to now decide or determine by how much was it short, okay? So we could do that in one part of our paper just to have an idea. So we were short, but so it was 16,000. All right, let me make sure that you guys understand that's a 0 and not a 6. All right, join with my finger, guys. Okay, so 16,000. And how much was actually made? Let's go back to that amount. 14,340. So we're going to be subtracting 14,340 from 16,000 to see by how much it was short, just to have an idea if you know what they said we needed was what we actually needed. All right, so 0 take away 0, that's 0. 0 take away 4, we can't. We go over here to borrow. Okay, then this becomes 9. All right, so 10 take away 4, that's 6. 9 take away 3, that's 6. 5 take away 4, that's 1. So we need $1,660 more. $1,660 more. Okay, so what the committee members suggested, okay, so this is just, for our information here, all right, but they want to see all the workings, so you could have it there, no problem. All right, so the committee member suggested that the team ask for at least 3 more cake donations in order to meet its goal. Each cake will be cut into 10 equal slices and sold at the same price. Okay, what was the price of the cakes? If you remember, it was $80 per slice. Okay, let's go back to that quickly. We always have to double check to make sure, guys. So cake was sold at $80 per slice. Okay, remember they cut the cake into each cake into 10 slices. So all that information is important to note, okay? So let's go. All right, so if we have 3 more cakes and we multiply that by 10 slices each, 3 times 10, that's 30. So we will now have 30 slices of cake, okay? So 30 slices of cake, and let me just do it right here, multiplied by 80. Remember, it's $80 per slice. So 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Our placeholder first, then 0 times 8 times 0, that's 0. 8 times 3, that's 24. Okay, add these 2 rows, we end up with 2,100. Okay, so that would be how much money we could make from the additional 3 cakes, okay? So if we look here, we know that we only needed to make $1,660 more. So if we sold 3 more cakes, okay, with 10 slices each, we would have made 2,400. So in that regard, I would think that yes. What did the question ask us to do? Tell if we agree with the committee member. Explain why you agree or why you disagree. Okay. So be sure to use calculation. So again, if we should add how much we actually made from the beginning, like I said, the information is there. But let's do it in case we decided not to. If we had decided not to do the previous calculation. So what we had made first was 14,340. And if we add the 2,400, would that allow us to meet our goal? 0, 4, 7, 6, and 1. So we would have made 16,740, which would have made us meet our goal. So I would think that it would be agreeable, right? You could agree. I agree with the committee member that we would need to do at least 3 more cakes in order to meet our goal. If we had done 2 more cakes, let's put this over to the side. This is not really relevant, but let's just do in case we said, what if we wanted 2 more slices? It would have been, 2 more cakes, 2 times 10, that would have been 20. And if we multiply 20 by 80, then it would have been 8 times 0 is 0, 8 to 16. Okay, it would have been $1,600 that we would have made from 2 slices of cake. We would have still wanted a little bit more since we needed 1,660. Okay, so this part of it, we needed more than 2. Okay, 2 would not have been enough. So the answer would be, and that I agree with the committee member, that we need to at least get 3 more cakes with 10 slices each in order to reach our goal of 16,000. And remember, guys, it doesn't have to be 16,000 exactly when you do the calculations, but it must be more, okay? At least more, not less than what the goal was. All right, so that's the end of the test, okay? So once you're able to read the questions correctly and then understand and interpret what to do, make sure you check your calculations, then you should be successful. All right, see you in the next video.